It's interesting how people can underestimate the impact of their actions. My name is Ryan, and the best way to describe me is as someone who loves and is generally polite, always striving to give his wife everything she desires. It took me 2 marriages to realize that being reserved and giving everything to the person you love can lead to contempt and disrespect. I won't allow that to happen again. These entitled women believe they can do something in secret without their partners finding out, thinking that as long as they don't get caught, everything is fine. They try to hide their guilt in various ways until they are finally discovered. Then they suddenly feel remorse and explain that they didn't want their spouse to find out and get hurt. Do they even hear themselves talking? What are we supposed to think when they claim they never intended for us to discover their actions? It's as if they are admitting they did something behind our backs and only regret getting caught. That's quite insulting. I'm convinced these women can't comprehend normal thinking. Sandy and I met after ending dysfunctional relationships. She spent 3 years with her boyfriend Billy, who left her for a younger, more attractive girl. Sandy was devastated and had low self-esteem because the man she loved abandoned her. She never truly got over Billy, and that always bothered me to some extent. I'm Ryan, and I'm 6 years older than Sandy. I was married for 5 years to an attractive and seductive woman who made my world go round. I was deeply in love with her, and hoped to spend my life with my ex-wife Charlotte Tao. However, she had affairs behind my back during a period when I was head over heels in love with her. It took me a year to discover her infidelity, and it hurt me deeply. I left her and vowed I would never allow that to happen again. Afterward, I realized that trust would be an issue for me in any new relationship. Sandy and I were aware of each other's emotional baggage. I helped Sandy overcome her self-esteem issues while she worked hard to improve her body and appearance. She dedicated her free time to buying new clothes, spent hours at the salon, and played tennis. With my support, she became a confident and attractive woman. In return, Sandy, knowing my history, helped me overcome my trust issues. She always assured me that I was her one and only true love and how lucky she felt to have found me. Every day she expressed her love for me and made sure all my desires were met. Our life continued to be vibrant and we were intimate at least 4 times a week. We continued to share kisses and hugs on the couch, and our love remained strong. We even started talking about the possibility of having children. Suddenly we felt like soulmates. Life seemed great. Or so I believed. 1 week after celebrating our 6th anniversary, my life took an unexpected turn. I saw my wife wearing a dress I hadn't seen before, and she looked stunning, which was unusual for a typical weekday morning. To clarify, I wasn't secretly watching my wife, but we have a home video surveillance system that I occasionally check when I'm bored at work. I find comfort in watching our dog, Brandy, my little dachshund, especially after enduring my stressful job as a bond trader. However, that particular morning, when I saw the live video feed, I became curious. There she was, the love of my life, dressed in a very short and seductive red dress and extremely high heels. Her hair was perfectly styled, and her makeup looked flawless. It had been years since I had seen her look so alluring, and it made me feel uneasy and anxious. So, I decided to call my wife and ask her about her plans. I dialed her number on my cell phone. "Hi, honey. Just sitting here thinking about you. How's your day going?" "Tennis today," I asked. "Hi, sweetheart. I miss you. I don't have anything scheduled for today." "No tennis, because Kara hurt her ankle, so I've decided to take the day off." "Oh, that's too bad. I know you enjoy playing tennis. So, what do you have in mind?" "Well, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't made any specific plans. Maybe I'll go to the gym. Would you be interested in meeting for lunch? I can swing by the house and pick you up." "That's very thoughtful, honey, but not today. I'm feeling a little bloated, and I'm not hungry right now. I'll just grab a protein shake at the gym. I'll see you tonight. Love you, baby." She didn't say my usual love you when we hung up, and I'm pretty sure she realized it because I always say it before ending our calls. She lied to me, and I need to find out why she did that. Some things are hard to handle even after trusting Sandy for all these years. I had a GPS tracker in her car that I rarely used. I initially installed it for security reasons, but unfortunately, I was now using it to spy on my wife. Right after hanging up the phone, I left my office, got in my car, and activated her tracker. She was heading downtown, so I followed her in that direction. My office was close to downtown, and 15 minutes later, I caught up with her. When I saw her pull into the parking garage, I parked down the street and waited by the entrance for her to come out. 5 minutes later, my lovely wife, wearing high heels and a dress, was walking towards Fellini's, a fancy restaurant. I remained there with my stomach in knots, hoping I wasn't being deceived by another woman. When I saw her greet a man in front of the restaurant, I knew I was in trouble. I moved closer, trying to stay out of sight, and watched them greet each other with a kiss. They exchanged a few words, and he took her hand as they walked into the restaurant. I quickly crossed the street and peered through the window as they stood in front of the hostess with their arms around each other. I noticed Sandy leaning affectionately on his shoulder. Tears welled up in my eyes, but soon anger overtook me. I wiped my eyes, pulled out my phone, and started snapping some pictures through the window. While I was taking pictures, I saw him turn to Sandy and kiss her passionately. I captured a few shots just as she responded with an equally passionate kiss. The pain in my heart and the anger in my head led me down a dark path. I couldn't decide what to do before the hostess led them to their table. I felt my blood boil when I realized the man was Billy, her ex-boyfriend, the guy who broke her heart and caused her so much pain. She knew how much I detested him and that I had made it clear she should never speak to him again. She clearly didn't respect my wishes. My anger took over as I realized that in just the last hour, she had lied to me, dressed provocatively to meet her ex, kissed him passionately, and was spending the entire day with him. That kind of disrespect and humiliation was unacceptable, and I couldn't tolerate it any longer. The promise I had made to myself after my last marriage prevented me from being patient and accepting such disrespect. It was already over, and all that was left was to hear more lies and excuses from my soon-to-be ex-wife. Still seething with anger, I returned to the office and finished the day at my desk, trying to understand how this could have happened again. After wallowing in self-pity for the next 5 hours, I headed home, already planning my next move. I wondered if Sandy would admit what she had done during her day, or if she would continue to deceive me, which would make my final decision easier. With great effort, I managed to control my anger and drove home to face the end of my marriage. As I pulled into my driveway, tears welled up as I mourned the loss of the woman I once loved and respected. After dinner, I poured myself a generous glass of Mr. Daniels. I attempted a smile and tried to relax as I said, "I'm fine, it's been a busy day. Let me freshen up for dinner, and I'll be down in a bit." In the bedroom, I changed and sat on the bed, sipping my drink and allowing it to calm my nerves. After regaining my composure, I went back downstairs to the kitchen and found my beautiful wife in good spirits with dinner laid out on the table. She seemed pleased with the day she had spent with her boyfriend. We sat down together and I initiated a conversation. "This is a lovely dinner, Sandy, and you look stunning today." "Thank you. I love you, honey, and I love cooking for you," she replied with a satisfied smile. We sat in awkward silence for a few minutes as we ate. I noticed Sandy glancing at me from the corner of her eye, curious about what was bothering me. She felt guilty. Would she finally tell me the truth about her day? I was about to find out in the next few minutes. "So, tell me about your day and what you did," I asked, trying to maintain a non-threatening tone. "Well, after you called, I went to the gym for a couple of hours, had a protein bar, and then came back home to prepare dinner for you. It was a pretty quiet day," she replied. Seeing my expression and the tears in my eyes, she quickly averted her gaze to her plate. In a quiet tone, I asked, "So, Sandy, how do you think we should handle this situation? Should we consult lawyers first, or would you like to try therapy?" "What do you mean, honey?" she asked innocently. "I'm talking about divorce, obviously," I replied bluntly. "Stop playing dumb. What are you talking about?" "I mean the end of our marriage, divorce, separation, figuring out how to go about it and still remain friends." "I don't understand why you want a divorce," she said. "Are you serious?" "I'll give you a few minutes to think about that question before I respond." She suddenly seemed anxious. Her hands fiddled with her glass, and she avoided making eye contact with me. Several minutes passed in silence. "Did you follow me tonight?" she asked. Although I knew it didn't really matter, for some reason I didn't want her to know. "Why are you asking if I followed you? Is there something I should know about?" she replied, still puzzled and unsure what to say. "It's typical of cheaters to deny everything." "As expected," I said. "You're claiming nothing was going on, and you don't understand what's happening. Why are you even mentioning divorce while wearing that sad expression?" I stared into her eyes for a while, hoping she would be honest with me. After a prolonged silence, I said, "Well, let me show you what's been bothering me, Sandy." I unlocked my phone and displayed a photo of her and Billy kissing when they met outside the restaurant. That photo could be interpreted as a friendly greeting. I didn't want to reveal the other photos until I heard more of your explanations. Her mouth dropped open, and tears welled up in her eyes. She started making excuses. "Of course, honey, I can explain. It was just a greeting kiss. Nothing else happened. Let me tell you how I got this photo. Honey, I was crossing the street coming out of a software store when I thought I saw you walking hand in hand towards a restaurant. I crossed the street and approached the window to see you with his arm around you. My initial thought was that it couldn't be you, but I was wrong. It was you. My second thought was, why is she dressed so provocatively? She doesn't dress like that for me anymore." Then I realized you were with Billy, and everything became clear. I started taking some pictures just as you leaned in and kissed him. That's how I got this photo. In the next picture I showed her. She had her arms around his neck, and her short dress was riding up, showing her back. She looked incredibly alluring in that dress, and your hair and makeup were flawless. Were you going to a modeling shoot, or perhaps starting a new job? Can you explain why you dressed like that for him? I don't remember the last time you put on something so seductive for me." She covered her face with her hands and cried as I continued to stare at her, waiting for an explanation. When she remained silent, I continued. "My new XX2 phone has an incredible camera with zoom capabilities. Look, let me show you," I said, moving closer to her. His left arm was wrapped around Billy's neck, and I zoomed in on her ring finger, which was now bare of any wedding bands, and brought it closer to her face. "No wedding rings today. That's odd. I don't remember you ever taking them off for the entire time we've been together. Today must have been a special day. Now do you see why I'm talking about divorce? You lied to me about your day this morning. You took off your wedding rings. You dressed provocatively to meet your old flame. And you lied again about your day a moment ago. You're sitting here lying to my face, telling me you went to the gym today and didn't have anything for lunch. You put on an outfit for your old lover and spent the day with him while I was working to improve our lives. You broke your promise, never to see him again. You kissed and flirted with another man in public. You treated me like a fool, and you simply lied repeatedly. I don't know if you slept with him tonight or anything like that, but honestly, it doesn't even matter. No matter what you say, in my mind it will be a lie, but your actions have shown me that you can't keep your promises, and you're willing to lie to cover things up. You tried to look attractive for your old lover. You hooked up with him, and you bailed on our marriage by taking off your rings. Then you lied to me over and over again. To me, it seems like a valid reason for divorce, and I think you know it." Sandy was deeply moved. She hadn't really considered the consequences until now. The way I phrased it made her feel like she had cheated, something that had never crossed her mind before. Until this moment, she had considered it harmless fun and flirting, nothing serious. But for the first time since Billy had reached out, she realized it had evolved into an emotional connection and could easily be seen as infidelity to her husband. If not physically, then at least emotionally. She continued to cry and realized that if the situations were reversed, she would react the same way. "What have I done?" she muttered to herself. Her heart ached, and she felt sick to her stomach because of the pain she had caused her husband. She had to reach Ryan and save their marriage. "Ryan, you have to trust me. Nothing happened. We parted ways after dinner, but you have to believe me. Nothing happened. It was just lunch," she said, sobbing and grasping at straws. It stirred up painful memories from my first marriage. I couldn't believe I was reliving that nightmare. This time, I wasn't going to accept all the lies and allow things to continue. Wait, please just wait, Ryan. If I give you my phone, will you promise to give me another chance? You have to know that I love you, and I've never cheated on you before. I may have gotten carried away in a silly online relationship, and, yes, with my old flame, but I was acting foolishly like a teenager. The flirting and compliments were flattering and boosted my ego. Childish jealousy. It sounds like, if I give you my phone, can you promise to give me another chance? I can't do that, Sandy, but I promise you that if you don't give me the phone, our relationship is over. My next step will be to call Mark Wilson, the lawyer I've already spoken to, and have him draw up the divorce papers this week. We can work through this. I want to be as transparent and open as you are. My problem is, I never want to hurt anyone, and I'll avoid it if possible. Now I see that not being honest is actually worse. Well, honesty and transparency were the only things that could have saved this marriage, but you weren't honest and upfront until you had no other choice. The fact that you refused to let me read your text messages until you realized you had no alternative sealed your fate. Tears streamed down her face as she sat there, fully aware of how those messages exposed her dishonesty and lack of trust. She knew I wouldn't accept it, and she finally realized that her emotional relationship with another man was just as damaging as a physical affair. She vowed never to make that mistake again. Unfortunately, our once happy marriage came to an end. We signed the divorce papers, and 3 months later, we were officially divorced. We sold the house, divided our assets, and parted ways as friends. No reconciliation, no vendettas, no bitterness. All that remained were the smoldering ruins of a once happy marriage, destroyed by deceit, lies, and the loss of trust. I continued dating, but after being burned twice, marriage wasn't in my future. Sandy and Billy got back together, and 2 months later, Sandy became pregnant. Billy abandoned Sandy as soon as he found out about the pregnancy, instructing her to take care of it because he wasn't ready to have kids. The next day, Billy disappeared, leaving Sandy holding the baby. According to her sister Debbie, Sandy was just a shell of her former self. Her self-esteem had once again been shattered. Sandy remained in a perpetual state of depression, especially when she lost her baby due to a violent fall down a flight of stairs in her apartment. Her life went from paradise to utter hell, all because of her vanity and selfishness. She simply couldn't forgive herself for ruining our once happy marriage and losing my love and respect, trust, loyalty, and respect. You break one, and you lose them all.